I want you to think about just one number for a second. $14 trillion. That's the staggering amount of wealth that's estimated to transfer between business owners right here in the US over the next 10 years. This isn't just a number on a page. It's a massive economic wave that is already starting to build. But here's the multi-trillion-dollar question, isn't it? Is everybody actually ready for the shift? Because the data suggests there's a huge gap between who thinks they're ready and who truly is. And that brings us right to the heart of today's explainer, the Great Readiness Gap, a generational wake-up call for business owners, and it's all based on the fantastic State of Owner Readiness report from the Exit Planning Institute. So, here's our game plan. We're going to tackle this in 5 parts. First, we'll look at the sheer scale of this $14 trillion shift. Then we'll get into a tale of 3 generations and their wildly different ways of thinking about this. Third, we'll unpack why this gap even exists. Fourth, I'll show you a really cool framework called the 3-legged stool. And finally, we'll get super practical and look at what being ready really looks like. All right, let's jump in. Section 1, the 14 trillion shift. And the key thing to remember is this wave of transition is already here. Get this, 75%. 3/4. That's how many business owners, according to the Exit Planning Institute, are planning to exit their business within the next decade. So this is not some far-off hypothetical future we're talking about. It is happening right now. And here's the twist. The generation that's closest to that finish line, the baby boomers, they are by far the least prepared. And that difference creates a fascinating story about how different generations see their businesses. Which leads us perfectly into Section 2, a tale of generations. Let's see who's really prepared and who isn't. Okay, just look at this chart. The educational divide here is just wow. When you ask about formal exit planning education, 85% of millennials say they've had it. Gen X, a strong 70%, but baby boomers, only 42%. It's pretty clear that younger business owners get it. Planning your exit is planning your business. And the generation that built so much of this wealth is, unfortunately, way behind the curve. Scott Snyder, the president of the Exit Planning Institute, he puts it so bluntly. He says, "I read the analysis as an alarm for baby boomers. I worry about your regret." And that word, regret, that's a heavy one. It shows you what's really on the line here. It's not just about the money, it's about your legacy and that peace of mind you get from a transition done right. And that concern, or lack of it, shows up in their priorities. When you ask if exit planning is a top priority, more than half of millennials say, yep, absolutely. For Gen X, it's about 1/3. But for baby boomers, only 14%. Just let that sink in for a moment. The group that needs to plan the most is giving it the least attention. So the big question is, why? Why is this gap so huge? Well, Section 3 digs right into the psychology here. We're talking different mindsets and, different excuses. And this right here gets to the absolute heart of the issue. The number one reason boomers give for not planning is kind of heartbreaking. 30% of them just say they don't know how to start. They literally feel lost. Now, for millennials, the top reason is my company is too young. They see the value, they just think it's too early for them. So you have one group that feels lost and another that just feels they've plenty of time. It's like they're living in 2 totally different worlds. And this really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? For any business owner out there listening, what's your reason for not planning? And more importantly, is that reason, whatever it is, quietly costing you value and putting your entire legacy at risk? Okay, so we've spent a lot of time on the problem. Let's pivot and talk about the solution. Section 4 is all about a simple but really powerful framework to get you in control: the 3-legged stool. Now, this framework comes from something called the Value Acceleration Methodology. It might sound a little technical, but the idea behind it is super simple. It's all about changing how you think about exit planning. It's not some scary one-time event. It's actually a continuous process of making your company more valuable by getting your business, personal, and financial goals all pointed in the same direction. And this is the framework. It's so simple and elegant. Just picture a sturdy stool with 3 legs.
The first leg is personal. Who are you going to be and what do you want to do after the business? The second is financial. Does your money plan actually support that personal vision? And the third leg is the business itself. Are you building a company that's so valuable it can actually thrive without you? If any one of those legs is wobbly, the whole thing falls over.
So, how are boomers doing against this three-legged stool model? Well, the numbers here are a real wake-up call. A tiny 13% have a solid personal plan. Only 35% have their financial plan locked down, and just 22% are actively working on their business plan. You add that all up, and you see that big slice of the pie, that 30% of owners who have a major gap in their planning and are just the most at risk. Okay, let's get super actionable now. Section 5. What does being ready actually look like? Here are 10 concrete actions that prove your company's value and your readiness to transition. The first 5 actions are all about having a rock-solid foundation. It means you're educated on how this process works. You're not just winging it. It means your three-legged stool is balanced. Your personal, financial, and business goals are all in sync. And it means you have the paperwork to prove it. A formal team of advisors, a plan B for emergencies, and a recent, realistic valuation of your business. These aren't just nice-to-haves, they are proof points of a company that's run well. The next 5 actions are all about looking to the future. A ready owner has thought through all their options, not just the one they think is most likely. They have a documented plan for the transition itself, and, this is so important, a plan for their own life after the business. And this isn't about slowing down, it's about actively making the business more valuable right up into the very end, and making sure your management team is 100% ready to take the reins. And it all comes back to this one quote from Christopher Snyder, who created this whole methodology. It just nails the mindset perfectly. Forget the future, focus on today, and exit strategy is simply good business strategy. See, it's about building a better, stronger, more resilient company right now. The exit takes care of itself. And that leaves us with this one last thought to chew on. Your business? It's your legacy. The real question is, are you building one that's truly built to last?